We are Makilala TV, the first Filipino-American TV talk show in the New York metro area. Get to know us as we talk to the community leaders, innovators, advocates, and emerging artists who affect Filipino-American life.
My name is Rachelle Ocampo. On behalf of my co-hosts, Jen Fuhr and Cristina Pastor, welcome to Makilala TV, the first and now longest-running Filipino-American TV talk show in the New York metro area. Today, we have two incredible mothers joining us to share their journey of raising transgender young adults. They will open up about the anxiety and fear they faced and the unconditional love they have for their children. Get ready to be inspired by their courage and resilience. First, the tables will turn on our co-host Jen Fuhr, who will switch her role from co-host to special guest speaker, so we can hear about her eye-opening experience as a mom of 4 children, one of whom identifies as transgender woman, Rose. Our second guest is Tricia Capistrano, a Filipino-American writer based in New York City. She is the author of Ding Ding, Ning Ning, Sing Sing, and other fun Tagalog words. She is a mom of trans young adult Emily. Welcome to Makilala TV, ladies. So tell us, Jen and Tricia, how are Rose and Emily? How long has it been since they've told you about their situation?
Been over 5 years.
Yeah. Okay.
I think I came out as a transgender mom on one of the Makilala TV episodes, and it's been really good. She's really in a good place. I mean, we take it one day at a time, and we're just happy that we're closer, and we have a relationship. So she's into skating, which
was before transgender. She was already
she was into skateboarding and other stuff,
okay.
But skating is another. I guess there's a big transgender community in LA, or LGBT community in LA, that does skating. So for her, that's very important, and she found a community that support her. So for us, that is a big win.
Yeah. Okay. And Tricia, how's Emily doing?
So Emily is now 20. Ours is a different journey. She actually came out to us as gay when she was 7. And then in December 2020, she told us that she was transgender, which actually wasn't a big jump. It was hard for us when she told us she was gay, just because we thought that she would have a harder life. It was a little hard to hear that she was transgendered, also because being transgender is so much harder than being heterosexual. So Emily, is now fully transgender. My husband and I have accepted her. And she's a young adult, so she's currently finding herself.
Okay. So I didn't even realize at 7 years old, how was that reaction? The first reaction of when your child came out as transgender, gay and transgender. I'm assuming it's 2 different reactions. Tell us about that.
Well, when she was very young, she already liked to play with girl things. So we figured, she might be gay. But then at 7 years old, she came out to my husband and said, I'm gay, right? And we said, okay, you're gay?
That's how my daughter came out to me too.
Okay.
I'm gay, right?
Wait,
exactly.
At what age?
High school. But please continue, Tricia.
So we live in New York City, so it wasn't hard to see other people who were gay, and we know a lot of gay successful people. So it was successful in terms of living a happy life. So it was harder because we were thinking, she might have a hard life. So that was the most painful, but once we've accepted it, it was okay.
For Rose, it was harder for us because she was 27 and she was manly all all the previous life.
So like male presenting features.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
male presenting features.
Okay.
And she had girlfriends, and she had there was no inclination of the other way.
From your point of view.
From my point of view
As
as
a
the
mom.
mom. See, that's another thing. I'm still, even though it's 5.5 years, I'm still not well versed on all the right terminology. I'm still educating myself, because you're there to support your child.
Yeah.
See, it's coming out. Go ahead.
I think that's the beauty of what makes you such a. I'm already getting emotional now too. That makes you such a good mom, Jen. And I don't.
Out.
Even if you get timed out, you're
Yeah.
trying.
Yeah.
You're putting yourself in a sense of a vulnerability, and that you're not all knowing. That you want to be better as a parent, as a human. That we all want to just better understand.
True.
Yes, yes. So
Thank you.
keep it up, Jen.
So how are your families and relatives dealing with this? Both of you, Jen,
Yeah, it's still, I mean,
is there full acceptance from almost everyone?
we're accepting Rose because we love Rose. The family accepts Rose. There are instances that you slip because, antiquated viewpoint, and it causes friction. And you fall you fall for your child. You don't like your child crying.
Yeah.
And at the same time, you're trying to figure out ways for her to understand that she is loved, and people are still learning. It doesn't mean that they don't love you. It's just that maybe we're ignorant or insensitive at times. Unintended ignorance or insensitivity. It's just that we're still in the process of learning. I mean, I was just having a conversation with my in-laws one time, a week ago. It's like when we first, the first interracial marriage. It took a while before it gets accepted.
Oh yeah.
In 1967, when they have the Long versus Virginia, and maybe this will take a long time. I mean, maybe our daughter wants us to be quicker. We're trying. Rose, really are trying. And but the good thing is we have open communication, and we say we try to be able to say exactly how you feel is the most important part of navigating through this whole thing.
And Tricia, same question. Like, how have your family had reacted with Emily?
Because she was gay, younger, it was hard for them actually when she preferred to play with, girl toys. And then as she came out, and then we told them that she was transgender, the pronouns were hard for them. It was very hard, but they saw over the years that she was much happier, being a girl, being accepted. So they all came around and just accepted her the way she was.
Yeah, I feel like pronouns has been such a hot topic in online. It's just even just the word transgender. I mentioned it earlier in another episode. Is so triggering to people. Like, they're so offended. They're so easily offended that there could be somebody that is not typical.
I guess I also want to mention that it might be harder. I'm not sure, but I was just thinking about it because in the Philippines, we have siya, which is neither male nor female, or kapatid.
We're so progressive in the Philippines.
So even before Emily transitioned, my parents were already having a hard time with he and she because, and
In
then all
English,
of a
right?
sudden,
It's easier.
well, they're still having a hard time with he or she. So, but they're very accepting.
Go ahead.
But even addressing people as a whole, you have to be. I just find out you have to be gender neutral. Like when you see a boy and a girl, typical in our mindset, a boy and a girl, you see them playing, you can't just assume that they're a boy and girl, because it's possible they're not they're not really who we think they are. So I guess we should be Am I making sense? Am I being gender neutral? So we were on a skating competition, and we were admiring this person who we thought was a girl. So we used a girl noun, a girl. We didn't realize that could be offensive, because what if that person is identifying as something else?
Yeah.
So I guess my point is, like, sometimes we do make mistakes, and I hope the transgender community will give us a little tolerance with our mistakes, especially if they're what do you call it? They're innocent mistakes.
They're not intended.
You're not intended.
Yeah.
So that's just, one of the situations where sometimes it could be tricky.
Well, that's for cases like making a mistake about the person's gender or identity. So that is totally unintentional, right? So they will just make a correction. Excuse me, Miss Jan, I am a male.
Right.
Blah, blah, blah. So my question really is, how do you protect your children emotionally if you feel that some members of society look at them differently or stare at them? That's the worst part, when people stare at you. Oh.
I mean, I think whether you're a transgender, male or female, or as a mother, you're scared, you don't sleep. And as a grandmother, you add that into it. Like, you always worry about something. So add the, other people not knowing who your child is and forming a judgment based on, whatever echo chamber they're at. Sometimes could be scary. And at the same time, you also feel for the other people, like the other side. Let's say you have, you feel like their insecurities or their concern. So you're kind of like in between, like women's sports. Should transgender people be in women's sports? I mean, if you have a child, okay, well, what should, and then at the same time, you have a child who's also a girl, and not a transgender girl. Should they, what? It's really like you're in between. That's how I am anyway. I mean,
So what do you think? Should transgender people be in sports?
It's.
I feel like you're trying to be politically correct.
I know.
You're about to not be in trouble.
I think if you have raging boy hormones, I mean, as example, boys are typically stronger than girls. What if you have a girl genetically, right? What if you have a child, a daughter, a female, who trained her whole life to be the best swimmer ever? Really trained so that you could get that scholarship, and then a new transitioning person joined that competition, you would feel so bad for that daughter.
Yeah.
But what if you're the daughter of that transgender? What are you gonna do? It's like, what sports can you join? So it's kind of hard. Maybe they should have a.
Yeah, and I feel like it is a super tricky situation, but I feel like this topic is always being talked about when I don't think it's a topic, especially in the US, where not everybody who has healthcare, male or female, we all don't have healthcare, if we don't have a job. There's so many different issues, and then transgender, the transgender issues being used as a scapegoat which probably doesn't even touch 1% of the population.
I remember we had Maria Rivera earlier in the show, in the first episode, and she mentioned that when she was undergoing hormone therapy, she started to weaken, and she started to have the feeling of emotional feeling of a girl. So I don't know if that is enough evidence to support that transgender people can join women's sports. I don't know.
But
maybe there has to be a doctor that.
Yeah, like where's the line? Yeah. Like who's to say you're allowed to, but you're not allowed to?
But
like,
is
what
it
is
really
the rule?
an issue? Is
Yeah.
what I'm
And
saying.
Tricia's
Like,
saying
do
is,
you know
there's bigger-
someone
Yeah.
who has
It's
in
an
sports and
issue
wants
in
to
some
play
schools.
in some
Yeah.
schools,
In
but
some schools, yeah.
in like the whole U.S.
But I think the fear
Yeah.
is that it will grow to a point where it will be too late to make changes.
So let's say,
It's-
Rachelle, what if Addie trained to be the best swimmer, and then somebody decided, you know, like I'm just transitioning now, and I want to join that competition. How would you react?
It would be very difficult. It would be very difficult. It's not a straight yes or no
That's
answer
right. It is
because
not a
I don't know of the situation of that specific person. I would want to hear from that person and get to know them, and it would be situation by situation, case by case.
I guess
like
I want to address how you're saying it's going to grow. You know, transgender, gay people have always been in our, you know, American culture, Filipino culture.
centuries now.
Yes. And so it's always been, you know, it's always been in our culture. It's just more noticeable now because of media. You know, social media has helped also my child especially to connect with people like her. Someone told me this analogy and it really made sense to me. So I have cousins who were born in the 60s, and those who were left-handed were forced to learn how to cut with their right hand, even if they're left-handed. And now you notice nobody does that anymore because people realize, you know, being left-handed isn't bad. It's just an aspect of someone's personality. So my thinking is being, you know, non-heterosexual is just is being othered. So people tend to make transgender people an other when really it's just one aspect of someone's personality.
That is a beautiful analogy. Yeah. I to counter that though, even though it's beautiful, I think it goes to the point of like in fairness of there's no difference between the left-handed and right-handed in terms of like I go back to the swimming competition.
Right.
So yeah, I could see both ways. We've always been
50 years from now.
yes, that would be great.
But
But
right now,
yes.
But right now, it's you know, you have to weigh both sides.
Yeah.
I think. I mean, you can't just totally say, girls, you're not making any sense, or transgender people, you're not making sense. Just if you could find a compromise. I mean, right now we're at the heat of it. I mean, not sure, right? It's totally different, but you know, it's.
Are there more women transitioning to men, or are there more men transitioning to women? Do we have any study on that? I think Tricia, you have an insight on that,
remember
right?
the study, but I've spoken to psychologists who say that there are more young adults who were born as female who identify as male. But unfortunately, I can't remember what study that is.
Yeah, I think in our town recently there are a lot of kids who transition.
Mm-hmm. What do you think is the appropriate age to transition? Because now there are 9-10-year-olds that are transitioning, are thinking of transitioning.
Like transition as in like taking HRT,
Hormones
like
and all that
hormones.
Maybe leading to that. Yeah.
I mean,
So,
my daughter still hasn't taken any hormones or any of that stuff, but
Is she considering?
right now she's not considering it. But
So can she be called trans? Can she be called trans?
I believe so,
Oh, okay.
because
All right.
she
That's what she
identifies
identifies
as a
as.
transgender
okay.
woman.
I think it's on a case-by-case basis. I've met with other parents in New York City, and you know, some of them felt like it was right for their child to wait until puberty, but for some of them, they feel that it affects the mental health of their child, so they felt like it was better for the child. Some of them feel like it's very life-threatening if they don't transition. So for me, I really think we can't generalize. It's really on a case-by-case basis.
I wish we have a doctor in the panel that could say what are the adverse reaction for a 7-year-old who's still, changing.
Well, I think
Yeah, I
in
think
New York
so, too.
City, you can't, have surgery until you're over 18, and then you can't have hormones until I think 15. So I have to check, but
I think we touched upon it earlier about like protecting your child. When you were first, when they first came out to you, did you ever feel that sense of like, is this my fault as a parent? Like, did I help cause this? Like, is there something wrong with me? Is there something wrong with my child? Did that ever come across during that time?
No, I didn't think I blamed myself or I did something wrong. It was just more of a shock that I didn't know that she had this, she calls it body dysphoria, and that she had.
What is that? Gender dysphoria.
That I'm not sure exactly medically what it is, but like my most concern when she came out was her mental stability. So I just wanted her to make sure she, she's mentally able to understand or to go through whatever changes she's going through.
Okay. And
yeah, for me, when Emily was actually in my belly, it was actually the Iraq War, and I was really, really sad, and I thought we were gonna have a world war. So sometimes I was thinking, oh, it could be my fault. I was too stressed. But after years of doing that, I realized it's not helping me. It's not helping her. You can't go back. It is what it is. So I've learned to just, shut it off and move on and do something more
I didn't know
productive.
there's connection between stress and
There's nobody knows.
Yeah.
I don't think there's connection, but I just remember being super stressed at that time.
How do you have your children experience discrimination because of their identity, jobs,
Well, luckily that
schools,
yeah.
Things like that.
I don't think
Restaurants.
Rose experienced any. I think that's one of the reasons why she changed her name from Mikey to Rose. When she first came out, she didn't want to change her name, but then when she goes into an Uber or whatever, she want to be addressed as a female, and then she changed. So she slowly doing that. So there be racism. I don't know. She would tell you more that being a Filipino has more
discrimination than
like she
being
felt
trans.
more discrimination than being a transgender.
Interesting.
Oh, really?
Also very sad that she had to go and experience all that.
Yeah,
As a
yes. So
Asian.
Yeah. So it's
So I'm curious, how did they choose their names? Rose, why Rose? Somebody
close to her middle name, and someone addressed her Rose as and I guess it just organically. Yeah.
What about Emily?
So Emily chose her name because it was similar to her previous name. So Emily is actually a maybe name. So, she's 20, so she might change her name
Okay.
Again.
As a Filipino mom, do you remember a moment that you felt the most proud during the journey of your child being transgender? Yeah.
When Rose tells me that she gets messages from other people who Rose an Instagram page, and she talks about sobriety and skating and transitioning, and I guess that's her platform in advocating for transgender, even though she's just saying it for her own journey. And when she gets messages from other people who will tell her that she kind of saved their lives, for me that's one of the proud mom moment.
Yeah.
Because that's all you want your kids to be, is to be kind, to be able to help other people, help yourself. So when sharing your journey helps other people, I think that's a beautiful thing.
That is very beautiful. Oh my goodness. I don't think I've ever received an Instagram message like that. So Rose is brave for sharing that, and to also be provide a platform for others to seek refuge and community.
I mean, she gets all the bad, there'll always be people who will say bad things about anything. So you just tell them to just ignore it and go through.
Move forward, yeah.
So when you tell friends that you have a transgender child, what is usually the reaction to you?
For me, it's not a non-issue. Actually, I was so surprised. My American friends, they saw her grow up, so they were like, "Oh, okay, next topic." So when I would go home to the Philippines, I thought it was gonna be a big thing, and they're like, "Okay, next topic." So
Okay,
so it's been pretty amazing.
I can't believe it, but it's already time to close the episode. I'd like to ask Jen and Tricia, what advice do you have for other parents who are going through a similar experience with their own children?
For me, I tend to give too much advice. So my advice is to listen and not interrupt. So I think that's something for me to learn, and then my advice to other parents as well.
Every mother loves her kids. They just want them to be happy, to be successful, to be well. And my advice, I guess, is to have an open communication, because that's very important. You can never guess what your kid's mindset is. So to have that, and just be very supportive. And as a transgender mom, try to learn, fast track the learning process, because there are a lot of things that I still don't know, even though it's 5.5 years. So, and be forgiving, because we do make mistakes, no matter how much we love and support. So just be forgiving on both sides.
I love that. Thank you so much, Tricia and Jen, for sharing your brave stories. And thank you for M&N team. Maraming salamat to all our supporters and viewers. Really, this would not be possible without your support. Sa ulitin.